Welcome back to the Gunn Show, my friends. It's so good to see you, and you may notice a little bit different background. Now, incredibly handsome faces, of course, like we often have on our podcast, but a different background. I am not in my studio. I am on the road. Now, if you've tuned into this podcast today as a new guest and you said, oh, the Gunn Show, I bet that's about weapons or military or muscles. Yeah, I don't have any of those. I don't have any of those. I'm not saying we won't talk about it at some point, but I don't have any of those. It's actually a play on my last name, which is Gunn, G-U-N-N, and we talk about manufacturing. We humanize manufacturing. We bring into life everything that's all around us and made all day long, every day. And we want to turn this invisible industry visible. So that's why we do this. This is the Gunn Show. So let me just mention this is an MTDCNC production. And before we go any further, I have to thank all of our incredible sponsors that make this show a reality. First and foremost, AMT. Yes, we had an amazing IMTS this year. Thank you all for your friendship. We also have EBITDA Growth Systems. If you don't know who those folks are, consulting company that will double your profits within 3 years. Yes, give them a shout, EBITDA Growth Systems. Shop Floor Coffee. If you're drinking regular coffee on your shop floor, give these guys a call. It's Shop Floor. They're supporting shops. On top of that, they give a percentage of every purchase back to the industry itself in order to fund education. So that's very important to understand. The American Precision Museum, we love those guys. Over in Vermont, about an hour and a half from the closest airport. But if you can get over there, I highly recommend it. The original Silicon Valley. Say hi to my buddy Jerry Rex. Truly an impressive thing. And if you can't make it there, tune into our YouTube channel at MTDCNC. We just did an hour and 20-minute tour on the American Precision Center through the details of all of it. Certainly worth checking out. And our newest sponsor is Revelation Machinery. We appreciate you. If you're looking to buy those machines out there, secondhand machines, get rid of them at your shop, give these folks a call. All right. Games today. Well, we haven't discussed it, so we'll figure it out at the end if we play any games. We may not. This might be such a valuable conversation that we don't even get to the games. So, without any further ado, please welcome my friends, Don from Midwest Cam Solutions, Vic and Bruce from GibbsCAM Corporate, and we have no toast today because we have no drinks and we are on the road, but we are going to humanize this industry. We are going to get to know these folks. Don, I'm going to start with you after my long-winded introduction. We love humanizing what's going on. We always like to learn how the heck we got here. Some people are misfits like myself. I got kicked out of 3 colleges. I never knew what this industry was. I somehow found myself mopping floors and then went to CNC machining. Some people knew that they were going to be in this, some people's parents and grandparents and everything. And I know you have a legacy and a generational situation going on here in Minnesota that's worth talking about. But how did you get involved in manufacturing, engineering, the whole industry? Welcome back to the Gunn Show, my friends. This is the VIP edition.
Wow, that's a long story, but started off. So when I was 19, I was going to enlist in the Navy. And so I'd gone down to the recruiting office, talked to them. They were going to pick me up at 5:30 that morning to take me down for my physical and all that. And they never showed up. The Navy
never showed up.
Never showed up. So I'm like, okay.
That doesn't sound like them.
Well, okay, so, I have a past, but we're not going to get into that. And I don't think they knew of my past, so we're not going to get into that. But anyways, so then I'm like, I have to do something because I'm working at Uncle Bob's Quick 6 gas station, cash register and whatnot. And I'm like, I got to do something. So I went down to St. Paul TVI. At that time, it was TVI, not a college, but a technical institute. And I took their test. And I don't know what the test was all about, but I took a test and they came back and they said, you know what? You would be really good at woodworking or metalworking. And they said, do you have a preference? And I said, well, which one am I going to make the most money at? They said metalworking.
Huh.
So that's how I got into the field. Went through the class. It was a tool and die and mold making class. Got through that in 1983. Started working for a couple small job shops and then ended up at Wilson Tool, which is one of our largest customers. Had no idea. At that time, I didn't know GibbsCAM, and they, I don't think, were using it at that time. But So I worked there for 7 years. Decided that, when I was growing up, I always mowed lawns, and, I was always an entrepreneurial type person, right? I wanted to go make money. And so I decided, you know what? I can do this. I want a machine shop. So I took my profit sharing, bad idea, took my profit sharing, and I bought a company in a small town up in Clarissa, Minnesota. Well, that didn't go well. The owner wasn't upfront with everything. So I lost $70,000 and had to walk away. And so in that, I actually had brought in a couple customers to that business up there. And they called me up one Saturday and said, if you can find a place to do your work, we will send you work. So then I formed Casanova Incorporated. So then what I did was I had a Honda Accord. I'd put all my machinist tools in there, put all my parts in there, and I would drive to a machine shop that I rented time on their machines, start at 8 o'clock in the morning, work there till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when he closed his doors. Load all my stuff into my Honda Accord, and I'd go over to a neighbor who had a little machine shop in his garage, and I'd work till midnight. I did that for about a year and a half. And so then, kind of getting a little bit emotional there. So then, 13 years later, I had the shop for 13 years. Everything went really well, up to 11 machinists and that, and then things just kind of tapered off for me. Had some medical issues in our family that I needed to deal with, so I went back to work for Wilson Tool, sold the business, worked from Wilson Tool from 2004 to 2019. Was offered a job working with Midwest Cam Solutions at that time. The owner, Rick Mead, was going to retire, and so he retired. I bought the business, and here we are today.
I want to mention a few things. The first thing I want to mention is Rick Mead that you just mentioned. Would you believe that when we were walking around this technical center that we're in today, we walked back to where they're training the kids back there? The gentleman in charge of that class has been here, he said something about 39 years or something like that. And he goes, I know Rick Mead. And he, right off the top, just knew him right away. That's the first thing I want to mention. Second, you mentioned mowing lawns. Yeah, I did too. I did that for about a month, and the guy I was working for was a big gambler, and I never got paid for it. Oh. So that was real fun. Yeah. And I want to ask you, I did notice you getting emotional there, Don, and I don't want to pry too much because I'm not afraid to cry on camera. You all know that. I cry all the time, and I'm okay with that. I have 2 daughters, 7 sisters. I'm a sensitive guy, okay? But if you don't want to talk about it because it might get that way, I understand. But what brings that emotion out about that story? I did notice that.
Perseverance.
Yeah.
Just being able to, I have a great wife. She supports me. That's probably the biggest part. She supports me in everything I do, even though I run off sometimes and I do some crazy things like buy businesses. And, I've had several businesses over the year. Last year I had to close one down because I had 3 businesses and a band that play in, and it was just too much. Ended up getting real sick last winter, and I think it was because of all the stress and stuff. So I closed one down, trying to kind of wind down here, and I think it's just, because I have such a great support system in my life.
That is definitely something to get emotional about and be grateful for. Shout out to all the amazing wives out there, and thank you for being transparent enough to share that with us. Certainly appreciate that. Bruce, we're going to slide over to you. We're going to give Don a second to wipe his tears, and some of my own as well, because I also have a wonderful support system, and I would not be where I am today if people didn't believe in my crazy freaking ideas. And, just to give us a moment to think about that, when COVID hit, I told my wife, I said, I'm not doing stress, worry, and anxiety. And I was working 2 pretty good jobs at that time. I was like, I'm going to quit. She's like, quit? What about our money? I'm like, don't worry. I'm going to quit. We're going to put everything into storage. We're going to backpack Mexico for a few months. And that was when I came on to MTD after, just setting my soul free. But I don't think a person in their right mind, sorry, honey, in their right mind would be like, yeah, let's go backpack Mexico with no jobs. And so I'm with you, Don, 100% with you. Bruce, how did you get involved in manufacturing? Were you a student of the trade as running around in diapers? Were your parents in it, or did you fall into it on accident? Did the Navy not show up at your house?
No, I never went looking for the Navy. Mine's a little different. While I was going to school, I was actually going to school for electronic engineering, but I was doing that on a part-time basis. So while I was doing that, I happened to be working in a manufacturing facility. It was like carbon graphite, messy stuff.
I've definitely played with that before.
Yeah.
Rips apart machines too.
Yeah. But, and that's something even in high school, I started there sweeping floors and I just worked my way up. So next thing I know, I was manufacturing engineering, doing process engineering and all that stuff. They were real helpful with me while I was going to school. Even if I was doing school at day, they let me come in at night, basically in the office alone, but it's actually easier for me to get through a stack full of processes then. And got some computer programming work and all that in at that time. But while I was doing that, we had matured enough where we were ready for something other than Mazotrol. So we had a couple Mazacs. The guys on the floor did everything Mazotrol, simple lathe work, nothing. But then we got our first mill, and it was a dual head mill and something different. So the plant manager came into me with a couple, there was a Fagard control, I remember that, a couple Fagard manuals and some blueprints, and threw it on my desk. He said, that machine's here in 3 weeks. These are the first 3 parts we're running. Learn how to program it. And that's how I learned to program CNC machines.
In 3 weeks.
And I've been doing it ever since. So at that same place, we did move up where we wanted to get a CAM system. There weren't too many choices in that area at that time. There were 2 major players, but so I was involved in selecting one and using it. And we're talking about using it on, they had to get me a special computer for that. So it was I still remember that too. It was a 28612, I think, compact computer, and it had a color monitor. We were smoking.
You're stepping up, yeah, for sure. For the young folks out there, we did have to develop this at one time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was just totally different than the world we live in now. So anyhow, I ended up moving to North Carolina, went into a place locally from me, which is actually the Hearst Jaws of Life is not far from my house. So although Jaws of Life rescue tools are made there. So when I see those, I programmed that part. And so that was another good opportunity, and that led me more into actually opening up my own reseller business in that area, just because there was no coverage there. Things went south with that after about 7 years, and I had been involved with just many other CAM systems. So I've probably been fluent in probably 8 different CAM systems. And then finally, and then this stuff, you can see how just within the industry. So I was at East Tech. I was covering East Tech. And I was working for another CAM system at that time. Some guy walks down the aisle that I knew from a previous CAM system, and he's walking with an AE with GibbsCAM, who I didn't know at the time. We met eyes. Hey, how's it going? Blah, blah. Oh, by the way, he hands me his card. We're looking for an AE if you're interested. I wasn't even looking at the time or whatever. It just falls on you. So conversations, and several months later, I'm showing up in California at GibbsCAM headquarters at the same time. Vic, by the way, we started on the same day in 2005, and I became an AE for GibbsCAM, and was there till 2016. There were buyouts, that didn't go so well, so I had to leave to another CAM system, and et cetera, et cetera. But I was kind of invited back after new ownership and all, and people retiring and direction changes based on their knowledge of what system I was in with another CAM system, and knowing I knew the system and what they wanted here. So they brought me on as the application engineering manager. We've been making some changes, still have some to go, but making our support system better, mainly to support Don and the other resellers. And here I am.
And here we are. That's a lot of history for only being 25 years old there,
Yeah,
Bruce. I mean, that's
wish.
incredible. That's a whole lot of work in just a few years. Where in Carolina were you?
In the Charlotte area, I live
Okay.
in Shelby. Yep.
Yeah. I grew up in Richmond, Virginia. My
Okay.
family grew up in Raleigh. So I was down in that area a lot, did a lot of soccer tournaments down in Charlotte, actually. So at that time, you mentioned being at East Tech, but your territory would have been a South Tech territory. Was South Tech going on at that time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But being a corporate AE, we're kind of more national now.
Okay.
Back then, we were even international. I mean, I would go do emo. So it wasn't a territory thing. It was a need. Who do they want? You know, a lot of times the reseller will request a specific person if they're available, what have you. So
Emo's a crazy big show, isn't it?
it sure is. It's impressive. Been there
All right,
several
Vic,
times.
we're going to slide over to you, but one thing I've noticed twice now amongst these two stories, let's see if, and yours may or may not match up. Oh, for everyone who's about to listen, Vic may be from another country. You might hear an accent. But I've listened to two stories so far, and I've heard resilience and the ability to get up after something has not gone perfectly. You both mentioned starting something that didn't work, continuing to grow, and that's the type of dedication our industry. I think that's what gives us a lot of our strength. A lot of the people in manufacturing, we never give up. We keep picking ourselves up. We keep working hard, and I think that's why manufacturing drives every country out there. Every country who is a successful country is because they're making things. And when something fails, they go, no, we're going to fix it. We're going to do better. And that's what we need to continue to emphasize to folks out there. So thank you for sharing those stories. Vic, we're going to catch a little bit of an accent from you. I'm going to guess South African, Australian, something like that?
Something like that, Tony. Yeah, something like that. No, actually, 34 years in the US now. I am actually a US citizen now, but
So it's a southern accent.
originally English. So I have, there's some Hoosier rubbed off there. It's actually, it's kind of odd now. If I go back to England and meet people when I'm back there, they get very curious. And when I tell them, no, I'm from here, they go, no, you're not. And I have to say, yes, I am.
So your accent doesn't match either place.
No, it doesn't match anywhere. Australian is typically what I get over here, and there's a little bit of a working class accent from where I come from. So I think that's where the Aussie comes from, with maybe some Hoosier mixed in there.
Where in the UK?
London born, actually, West London.
Okay.
Talking about soccer, I'm a big lifetime Chelsea fan, so that's a big part of my life.
I guess we can still be friends.
There's a reason I joined GibbsCAM. It's because it's blue.
I'm a fan of Cole Palmer. I'm not gonna lie. I cheer for United, but
Yeah.
Cole Palmer is phenomenal. So
Yeah,
we can go off on a soccer tangent for days. I
Yeah.
think. Let's stick to manufacturing for now. Maybe we'll pick up soccer
Yeah,
at the end of this.
born in West London, but when I was 5, my parents moved up to Cambridge, which is about 60 miles north, and that's really
city.
what I call home. That's where my sisters are, where my wife's family are, kind of thing.
Where you've gone punting.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, look at Tony. He even knows about punting.
I've been punting several times.
Punting's a lot of fun. Yeah,
And for the Americans who think I'm getting ready to kick a football,
Not even
punting
close.
is actually on a boat with a stick through the canals of Cambridge. Very famous, ancient university, world famous. But punting is when you get on that boat and do a bit of that. It's really lovely if you ever get the
I would
opportunity.
correct, it's not a canal, it truly is a river.
Yeah,
Although
river, sorry.
American-wise, it's a creek.
Yeah, it seemed like something smaller than a river, but thank you for correcting me.
No,
yes.
it's not very big, and the whole thing with the polar course is it's not very deep. It's only 3 feet. So
Yeah, the sticks you can. Yeah. So I also might fall off the boat and stand up.
Yeah, as teenagers, we used to go on punts and fall off the boats all the time. Yeah, a lot of fun. Amazing. You know that. I have to explain that to people quite a lot. So anyway, moved to Cambridge when I was about 5 years old, and that's really my home. I fell into, a little bit like Don, I fell into engineering, to be quite honest. I went to a fairly good boys' school at high school, and failed miserably. I was too interested in having a good time and chasing girls at 13 and 15 years old. So college was not in my future, let's say. And so my dad takes me to the job center. Okay, what are you going to do now, son? I don't know. And I looked at a few things, all over the map. Chef, civil servant, all kinds of things. The chef went out the window fairly quick because it was weekends, and that means no playing soccer on a weekend. So that
And
went
somebody
out pretty
tasted
quick.
your food, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Never tasted. You might have been amazing. The joke was left on the table.
No,
I had
it's
to say
okay.
it.
We'll leave it there. It's better than it used to be. So I had a friend that I hung around with, and he worked in engineering, and actually this company was a big company. It did machining, but it did other things. It was a big aerospace kind of company, and they fixed aircraft there. And he had a job where he had normal clothes during the day. It seemed a pretty easy job, and he was an aircraft electrician. I thought, oh, that sounds like a great job. So I actually went up as an aircraft electrician to do an apprenticeship. And they said, sorry, we're not looking for anybody, but we're looking for an apprentice machinist. And I went, oh, okay. And that was how I fell into engineering. And to be quite honest, at the time, I didn't even know what a reamer was back in those days. And in fact, of course, you may know the apprentices get a lot of ribbing from the established guys. And one of the first things I was asked to do was go to the stall and go and get a reamer. And of course, there's two meanings to getting reamed. And I thought I was going to get reamed, but it turns out, oh, it really is a tool. So,
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, so I did an apprenticeship there. They also were one of the first companies in aerospace. One of the first companies to get into NC. I'm not even talking CNC these days. And just as I finished my apprenticeship, they said, hey, we've got a space for an NC programmer in the other shop. Are you interested? You'd said you wanted to get away from the oil and the dirt and grime. And I said, yep, I'm there. And so I jumped into programming. I've been in this industry 50 years now, incredibly.
Wow.
And I was thinking about the human side of this, and why have I stayed in this industry so long? And I think a lot of it is what you said. I think making things. When I first worked at this company, we were actually making parts for Concorde at the time for the droop nose. That company actually designed the droop nose and made the parts for it, and I was involved in some of that. I was actually reaming some of the holes in the
Once you
parts.
figured it out, right?
Once you found the sparring.
But I think that is one of the things. I didn't actually see the part go into the Concorde, but knowing that you were making something that was going into something and you could see the use of it, I think was something that did grab me at that time. I think the other thing, you talk about humanising manufacturing, but I think that's the other thing that's always been great for me in this industry. I think two big things I've always learned. Obviously I got in at a young stage of machines, obviously being very basic, and getting into NC and into CNC machines, and likewise from a CAM standpoint, I was in the very early days of CAM, and you just never stop learning in this industry. I mean, I remember going on a sales course when I came over here, and the guy that done it obviously done sales for 20 years, and he was talking. He said, one of the things in sales course, you go around and everybody wants to give you the nickel and dime tour. And I said, if anybody gives me another nickel and dime tour, I'll shoot myself. And I looked at the guy at the time, and I thought, that's not how I look at it. Every time I go to a new shop and walk around, I learn something new. I meet new people. It's just a great trade to be in. So I think that's one of the main reasons I've stayed in this trade, and learning, as I say, and just a lot of good people around that's made it a great thing. But yeah, so I've walked through. I got into programming. I left that company when the aerospace industry took a downturn. Took a job as a company that made road sweepers for a while, then got back into a small CAM company actually that I'd interviewed with, and that was how I really became an applications engineer. And they were in bed with, marketing wise, with Herco machine tools. Mm-hmm. And so I was training Herco people how to use CAM software for several years, and that's really how I ended up here, based in Indianapolis, which is where Herco's base is, and that's how I came over. They gave my green card, gave me a job back in 89, 90. So.
Wow.
Been over here for 34 years, and as Bruce, I've used several CAM systems over the years, but I sold SurfCAM and GibbsCAM in Indiana, and when I say sold it, I sold it. I trained people, I supported it, so I did all of that, but decided I wanted to move into the management role, and joined Gibbs in 2005 with, as Bruce said, the same day, but at that stage I moved as a regional manager and did that for 10 years with Gibbs. as Bruce mentioned, we got taken over by a company that didn't go very well. And when I got the opportunity to jump, I jumped pretty quick, and I was gone for about 8 years, but came back to my home. And I think I always liked working at Gibbs. It was originally started by Bill Gibbs. He was a great guy, ran a great company. A lot of people at GibbsCAM have worked there, for the 20, 25, 30 years. Gibbs has actually been going, I think, 40 years as a company, but a lot of people have worked there for a very long time, and just it's always been a good company to work for, and a lot of good people, good family-run business. So I was very happy to come back. Changed my role now. I came on board actually as a kind of roadmap manager was kind of my job. I still do a little bit of that, but mainly my job now is business development. So I work with the machine tool guys, the tooling guys, and so that's a lot of what I do now.
Yeah, good. I think that you and I, well, all of us really, but we could certainly make jokes about how we got played when we were younger. I didn't know what a BT versus a cat was for the longest time. They used to mess with me. I was all the time. Go get this tool, it didn't exist. Go to this machine, didn't exist. I mean, you guys are all programmers in here, and I started kind of in that world as well. I didn't follow the same path as you guys, but certainly went from mopping floors to programming line by line on some old school Omniturns, if you remember those machines, and floppy drives. And our first CAD program was actually Excel. Excel was the way we programmed, and then I got into MasterCAM, and then I got into a couple of the other ones out there through woodworking and such. It was very traditional, and then I got to spend a lot of time with GibbsCAM as well, and I've really enjoyed the familiarity that I've had with it. And that's kind of the segue that I'm going to bring it back to you, Don. Is I want to talk a little bit about past, present, and future. I know that's a story you'd like to share today. Certainly with Midwest Cam Solutions, we have a couple of the Gibbs folks here. But along this journey of past, present, and future, I'd love to incorporate, so the people listening and watching right now, because there are a lot of systems out there, and a lot of people have a favorite based on comfortability, I would say. Something being in their trade school, or something being what their mentor taught them, or whatever was in their machine shop. And I would make the discussion that these days, Bruce, you mentioned, back in the day we had a color monitor, right? These days there is a pretty major difference between what's familiar and what makes sense in a shop, and what's easy to understand, and how quickly it can move, and what it can do from different style machines, from a turning center to a 3-axis to a 5-axis to even up to 8, 9, 10. These types of machines require different sets of software. So I want you to share past, present, and future, but along this journey, let's also articulate why GibbsCAM might be the place to look when considering if my shop is getting enough done with my current programming software, my current CAM software.
Sure. So my CAM background is similar to Bruce and Vic, in the way that in school, trade school, we punched a tape. So it was
You
MC,
beat me. You win.
So we punched a tape, and the tape would twist and all that kind of stuff. So, so that's where I started. But when CAM really started for me, when I went back to Wilson Tool in 2004. Prior to that, I had a machine shop, and I had MasterCAM. All I was using that for was something like I had Indian Motorcycles wanted a form for their headlamp, so I had to turn that in the lathe. Well, I couldn't program that by hand, so I'd go to MasterCAM. I would program the XYZ moves, and then I would use that in my lathe.
2D XYZ.
So I was able to do that. But I had very little exposure to CAM systems at that point. When I went back to work for Wilson Tool, they had several different CAM systems. They had Delcam, which is power mill, and they had MasterCAM and Esprit, and then GibbsCAM. GibbsCAM was very prevalent there. They started with GibbsCAM a long time ago. I don't even know when they started, probably mid-90s or something like that with turning. And what I've learned over the years, and I'm a lifelong learner, I just love to learn. I took a crash course, 6-month crash course on web development. I'm a certified whatever that means, certified front end, back end, web developer, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if I could do it still, but I went through the course, right? So I'm a lifelong learner, and I'm that way with CAM systems. So CAM systems, they're kind of distinguished by the color of the packaging in some ways, right? Because they all do, for the most part, similar things. But some are better at others, and that. And
That's exactly why I wanted you to explain, because
Yeah,
I think from
and-
the outside looking in, a lot of us get confused like that.
yeah, and the thing that I found with CAM systems is, especially today, is that it's like having hammers in your toolbox. You probably have multiple hammers in your toolboxes, or multiple different wrenches in your toolbox, depending on what you need it for. And so all the CAM systems will do some of what you want to do. Why I ended up with GibbsCAM is because not because I think all the other ones are bad. I just think GibbsCAM is better all around. I really like the support I get from the GibbsCAM support team. Being a user in the beginning, right? Because Bruce helped me put together I'm trying to do this, keeping in mind confidentiality here. How can I say?
That's a good idea. I've signed a lot of NDAs. I know
Yeah,
how that works.
so I didn't sign any, but I just trying to be. So I was tasked with putting together a system for a milling machine that would grind parts. So a 5-axis milling machine that grind parts. And we needed to have that do a multi-axis cutter comp. And
I only know a few machines that have the capability to do grinding because of their precision.
well,
In that world, I've
Right,
already
right. And
limited
so-
that down.
And so to do that, we created a macro program for GibbsCAM. So it's all done. You scan a ticket, it brings in all the information, creates the solid model, all the way to the point where it outputs the NC code, sends it to the machine. And but we needed that piece that 5-axis cutter comp piece, and how to get GibbsCAM to output that and stuff. And Bruce, this was way back before you left the first time. He helped me, the end user, the user, do that. And I had a lot of pressure on me. I needed to get this job done because the vice president of the company said, I'm not a patient person.
Oh, he warned you ahead of time.
Yeah, so he
that was nice.
So, I know. So I needed to get this done, and rightfully so, right? They want to start making money. But anyways, between Bruce and the machinery, Ellison Machinery, we were able to put this thing together using GibbsCAM, and I don't think there's another software out there that would have been not only the AE part of it from the software manufacturer, but that was intuitive enough to be able to put it all together and make it work. And so I just find GibbsCAM is so easy to use. Trust me, if I didn't believe in the software, I would not have bought the company. Right? I'm
Good
not
point.
Going, I'm not going to, I had the opportunity, but I wouldn't have bought it if I didn't believe in the software. The software will encompass all your machines from a 3-axis mill, a 2-axis lathe, all the way up to a 9-axis Tsugami lathe. A Swiss machine. It's amazing. The software is intuitive. It's not as easy to learn now as it used to be, but it's still easier than all the other softwares. And the reason why I say that is because machines are more complicated now. Everything's more complicated. So it's not that it's not easier than the other softwares, but you still need to be prepared to, take on that journey no matter what software. And that's where Midwest Cam comes in. Because if you buy it through us or a GibbsCAM reseller, we have the support that will take care of you, because our mission is to make you profitable and to make you as competitive as a company as you can be. And that's the bottom line. GibbsCAM will make you competitive and will make you profitable.
As they say, the proof is in the pudding, and I believe we have a couple of testimonials to talk about that. So for everyone listening, watching, wherever platform you're on, Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, stay tuned for that testimonial as well to support what Don says. Bruce, I heard one word pop up a couple of times just now, and it was intuitive. When I walk into a machine shop these days, and we're thinking present at the moment, right? Presently, I walk into a machine shop, and I know that coolant touches everything. So if I get the right coolant, maybe there's less secondary work. Maybe there's less cleaning I have to do to remove residual. Maybe with the right coolant, I'm going through my barrels less, so it's saving me money. I don't have to waste as much coolant. I'm using the right cutting tools and maybe the right tool holders, so my machine cutting is more balanced, which gives me longer life, better finish. If I invest in the right machine, my cost per part goes down because maybe I'm doing done-in-ones or things like this. There's a lot of, I would say, very known mathematical equations in a machine shop to help people become successful. I think you know what I'm getting ready to ask you. When it comes to software and GibbsCAM, when we're thinking, where does GibbsCAM really help me create that similar success that's just so darn obvious? Because, and I bring this up because we are suckers for familiarity. If I'm used to something, you have to pull out all my hair to get me to change and really prove it to me that it's gonna be worth my time to re-educate people, right? And a lot of people already have GibbsCAM, so it's no problem. However, we also want to invite an audience that's watching and listening right now to consider the possibility of leaving their comfort zone because they can win more, because they can do more. Maybe intuitive is the word. So presently, if I walk into a shop and I'm looking for the potential of improving my design, my CAD, my CAM, that side of things, where does GibbsCAM stand out?
Well, I think a big thing we need to remember, which Bill Gibbs, the founder of the company, thought about years ago, and we even had some conflict, I believe, over that because it took a while to develop and some other things kind of the brakes were put on. But to this day, I don't think anyone can disagree that he didn't go the right way, is what we call UKM, Universal Kinematic Machining. So unlike other who often do a lot of magic in the post, which is dangerous because then when you sim, you don't see those moves. We're very much, what you see is what you get. If I have a post issue and I go to our post development manager, the first thing he asks me, did you see it in sim? If I say yes, our call is over. It's not the post. So because of that technology, there are no longer just lathes or mills, because that's where the industry has gone. And way back, I don't know how many years ago it was, honestly, it was 14 or longer than then. Bill saw that was going to be the trend, and he was right. Machines are just machines now. We don't care what you call it. Is it more of a mill than a lathe, more in a lathe than a mill? Who cares? How many
some of
axes,
those mill turns these days are doing all of it, right?
Exactly. Right. So how many axes does it have? How many linears? How many rotaries? What things move that don't cut parts, but you still need the program? All that stuff we take in consideration. We build a machine. And the post processors, I'll make you set up to just take whatever you configure. There is no post magic. So that's one of the biggest things to allow you to program that way, because, and then the ability to, when you have multiple flows, to sync things up on an MTM style machine. I know for a fact, dealing with some of the machine tool builders and the resellers, that there's some people that won't buy that lower turret. Why? Because they're scared to death of it. And we say,
you just called out one of my own pet peeves, but please continue.
Yeah. And
or it sits in the shop.
Oh my gosh!
Which the owner loves.
Yeah.
Oh.
And we just say, no. Here, just if we could just spend 5 minutes with you, watch. It's our software controls that. It's in your way, move it.
Yeah.
If it's in your way over here, move it.
You ever tried pinch
But
turning?
now, how
Saves a lot
about
of time.
Yes. And then our sync manager allows you to actually look and see, hey, I'm wasting a lot of time with nothing going on over here. So let's, we've done the programming, fine, but now let's optimize this thing. Let's look at this a little bit. How can we save money? Why do I have all this space over here? I should be doing something on this subspindle. So what can I do? Can I move this over here? And GibbsCAM gives you all those tools, and it's a different way of looking at things.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. But now you have my wheels spinning about a few shops I've walked into, and they go, "We just bought this new machine, the single turret," and I'm thinking, it's available with 2 and 3 turrets, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at the part they're making, and I'm like, and how many operations is this? Oh, well, we have to put it on this machine, and then this machine, and then this machine, and I go, for just a few grand more, you could have put a second and third turret on this and been knocking it out. So, oh man, you that's one of my nerves, right? It's just, let's get out of our comfort zone. It is possible. Let's just try more. And the fact that the software is intuitive enough to be able to bring that in. All right, Vic, we mentioned past, present, future. We've done a bit of the past. We've done a bit of the present. Obviously, since you've been doing, did you mention 50 years? I feel like that's impossible, but since you've been doing this for 50 years, you'll probably do it for another 50. So who better to ask about the future than you, Vic, of GibbsCAM, what that looks like, what the future looks like, the partnerships, relationships. Yeah. To me, the most important thing, and I think Don said this a little while ago, of everything, and we're all going to advance. We're all going to increase the potentials. In fact, there's a constant battle, not battle, but I'm going to use the word anyway, battle between my machine is superior, now my cutting tools are superior, now my software is superior, and we're all playing this game of what can do what, right? Because one of them's doing a little bit more than the, so we're all trying to do that. And I would say that one of the most important things to always consider, past, present, and future, is service and support. Yeah. We've just talked about with Bruce getting out of that comfort zone and not letting that second turret sit there, and that comes from service and support. But what's the future look like when it comes to partnerships, friendships, and GibbsCAM as a family?
Yeah, I think a few things there, Tony. I think the first thing that comes to mind is AI, which is hot on everybody's lips right now. And certainly we've introduced that in a couple of ways into GibbsCAM. But I think I look at AI, and of course everybody worries it's taking my job away. And to be quite honest, I saw Elon Musk's recent robots. Have you seen those things?
I have.
Oh crap!
So you're saying there's a chance?
I'm saying it's pretty scary.
And I've seen Will Smith in a movie too.
In all honesty, though, I should be dead by the time it actually happens, so I'm not going to worry about it too much.
You're going to live forever. Stop it. You're going to live forever.
But I certainly would say, AI again. I remember 20 years ago thinking, man, I think CAM's going to be so easy to use in 5 years. We won't need training courses anymore. That wasn't the truth, of course. And what's happened, as Don talked about, machines got more complex, and therefore there's more to a CAM system, and so people need to be trained properly and need to understand that. So as we introduce AI, and it makes some things quicker and easier, and I've used some of the help that we've got in AI now, and certainly, I didn't realize you could go through those steps and do that. It certainly helps those things, but it's not going to make me a trained GibbsCAM programmer. So I think that's a big thing. We're doing some things on the front end. We're working with some AI companies that are doing front end stuff where they're actually, taking the CAD file, they're looking at previous knowledge and saying, okay, we've cut this pocket before, what tool do we need, and so they're doing a lot of that upfront thing. So now you're getting a big percentage of the work being done by AI, by knowledge-based information. And then the Gibbs program has still got to come in and say, okay, yeah, I see the way that AI did it, but hey, let me tell you, that's not the way we do it at this company. And so we still have that flexibility in GibbsCAM. So I think that's a big thing. We're owned by Sandvik now, and Sandvik is a company that is really trying to solve the new situation, the digital situation for their customers, large and small, by the way.
And just super quick, they even had an immersive booth at IMTS just recently instead of having all the tooling all over. To your point exactly. So sorry to interrupt, but that they are 100% focused on making sure that works. Yeah, and
we're part of Sandvik Manufacturing Solutions, and that's kind of a digital group, a software group, if you will. There's Coromon and Seco that are obviously more on the hardware side, and there's some other companies there. But certainly what Sandvik is doing is bringing all these companies together, and we're all talking to each other, and they're saying, look, we've got to be able to work together more. Our customers have to be able to do things have to be able to do things more. So, we've been doing things like introducing the Coromant library into GibbsCAM and doing those kind of things so that a customer can now go on, rather than go search for the tool or create his own tool, he can just go to the library, build his whole tool set and basically bring it into GibbsCAM. They're the kind of things that are going to make people more productive. And at the end of the day as well, very important, it makes that simulation that Bruce has talked about more accurate as well. So now we're getting down to those fractions, if you will, when we're actually doing simulation. Instead of seeing this nice picture on the screen that basically tells me, I don't think I'm going to crash my spindle right now. Now I know I'm accurately looking at a digital twin on the machine. So that is getting better and better all the time. We're seeing as well as we're starting to work with Seco, another one of our sister companies. They're moving away from being a company that sells inserts and tools. They're moving to a company that's going to be an innovation company that is going to be a solutions provider. They are really encouraging to work with us and with other companies. And of course, in the Sandvik belt, we have metrology companies as well. And Sandvik is trying to pull that all together, and this is what the customer needs. And I think with the pressure so much today on the companies, just got a job in the door, it's already 6 months late, my machines are loaded up, how can I get this done? And I see this as I walk around the machine tool companies. More and more machine tool companies are having to do solution providing themselves. They're having to, somebody comes and says, hey, I need this new machine, but you've got a program for the parts for me, because when the machine lands on the shop floor, I'm already a year behind production.
All the time. I say all the time.
I've got to go. So, and I think that's what, Sandvik has seen that, and they've said, look, we've got to help our customers more. We've got to be more than a company that sells an insert to these companies. So that's where I see a lot of it is with the digital world. If I look at the machine tool companies again, we've talked about the growth of machine tools, and certainly in my lifetime, it's been unbelievable. I remember when I'd been in the mold and die industry for several years, on the CAM side. So dealing with 3 and 5 axis machining, I joined GibbsCAM, and Bill had made the decision to get into MTM. I didn't even know what MTM was at that stage. I knew a little mill turn stuff, and he sent me up to DMG Mori to go see their open house, and I walk in the door and here's this mill turn machine that's got a 4-inch slab mill on a lathe, and I'm going, whoa, what happened? Did I fall asleep for 4 years? So we've come a long way, but I also see today that more and more the machine tool companies are looking at automation. Mm-hmm. They're not looking to say, how can I add more axes maybe to this machine tool? They're looking at more, how can I integrate? How can I get tooling integrated in, and how can I integrate with all the systems that are around? They're looking to do that a lot more. How can I pick up data? Obviously this is a big thing now, preventive maintenance, all these kind of things. So, and we have to be in touch with all of that and link closer and closer to the machine tools. So again, with the simulation model, it's going to go more and more to really being attached. You look at probing today, that's something that again helps customers a lot, being able to probe on.
A lot like reaming from earlier.
Good one. Yeah, no aliens here. But again, being able to do some of that on the machine tool and then get feedback both ways, so you can say, oh look, the cutter's not the 1/2-inch cutter you thought it was. It's only a 0.495. And so you adjust the thing. So again, bringing the machines and the CAM and all this digital data close together, I think, is where the industry's going. So
I'm going to ask you, I'm going to throw on my Captain Obvious cape, and I'm only just going to say it out loud because I want you to answer it, but we all know the answer, I think, and just for you to reiterate it. Would you make the discussion? You already described how shops are moving forward with automation and these machines and trying to get more done within and integrating the data and information. Would you make the discussion for folks out there that one of the bonuses of working with GibbsCAM is because if I have a question about another segment of my shop, I don't have to reach out to 3 other the companies in general. I can just reach out to you guys because you are this umbrella that's all working together, that it comes together as a solution. Would you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd absolutely say that's one of the big strengths of GibbsCAM as we move forward here, is we're part of a much bigger company and all these other entities that we can bring into it. And again, Sandvik is doing a great job there in the background. They have this thing called the Lighthouse program, so they're not just buying these companies and say, hey, keep making money and make our shareholders happy. They're actually pulling these companies together, and they're going into companies and saying, okay, let's look at your situation, Mr. XYZ. Let's see where you're good, let's see where you're struggling, and let's see where we can help you. And then they're going in and they're plugging in the pieces, say, hey, it looks like you need a tool grip. It looks like you need VeriCut to verify your process better. It looks like you need a better Swiss CAM system, whatever it may be. They're going in and they're interacting with these companies. And of course, as they're doing that, they're coming back to us and saying, hey, we realized when we went to XYZ that, hey, this and this doesn't work very well together. You guys need to get this working better together. So there's a lot of that going on in the background as well.
Yeah, very well said. We have a couple of minutes left before we get on to some other projects, Don. I'm going to leave the closing notes for you, my friend. Is there anything like you'd like to share with the audience out there, just kind of letting them know who you are, what you're doing together with GibbsCAM, what you're doing in your area, just any final messages that you'd like to offer?
I guess the first thing I'd like to do is thank all of our customers. I mean, that's why we're here. And they are my boss. So that is the one thing that I want everybody to understand about Don Casanova, is that I'm here for you, and I appreciate GibbsCAM. I appreciate what they do for us as a reseller to, Bruce is going to be at our place tomorrow training us, teaching us better ways to use GibbsCAM so that we can teach our customers the better way to use GibbsCAM, because we don't know everything. And the customer may even know more than me, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. You can tell me that I don't know, and I'm okay with that. But I guess for closing notes is I appreciate our customers, and I love going to work. I don't get up a day and say, oh, I don't want to go to work. I've never done that my whole life.
Not even on a Monday morning when you've had a tough weekend?
Nope. Well, I am a recovering alcoholic, so I haven't had a real rough weekend for about 30 years. Trust me, before that I did, and so I get up in the morning. Yeah, I might be tired, I might be stressed out, but I never feel like, oh, I don't want to go to work. And that's because I'm there to help people, whether it's my staff, my team, anybody. They got anything, I'm here.
Yeah. Very well said, gentlemen. Thank you all for sharing your stories today. Thank you for helping me understand more and the audience understand more about where this fits from past, present, and future. For everyone out there, obviously intuitive, very informative podcast for me. I hope it has been for you as well. And much like Don, I do this for the service, to be of service to you guys. So let us know if we've done well today. Leave it in the comments. Give us feedback. Give Don a call. Give GibbsCAM a call. If you're intrigued about how you can take your organization and put it under an umbrella that has the majority of answers for you, from the software side of things to the AI side of things to the tooling side of things and everything in between, give these guys a shout. If you have spent your time with us today, the same thing I say at the end of every show, time is the one thing we cannot manufacture more of. So if you shared your time with us today, we truly appreciate you, and we will see you again soon.